June 19, 1953, 8:06 p.m. A mother was shocked 5 times before the electric chair finally claimed her life. She didn't scream, she didn't beg, she didn't confess, she just died. 5 electrical shocks. Because one man lied. That man was her own brother. And when journalists asked him, decades later, if he felt any guilt, he said, "I don't care. I sleep well." This is the story of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, the only civilian couple ever executed in American history for espionage. A story of atomic secrets, Cold War paranoia, and a government that knew her role was minimal and executed her anyway. August 6, 1945, a single bomb erased an entire city in seconds. America had just shown humanity what it was capable of. In Moscow, Stalin wasn't impressed. He was terrified. Because the country he feared most now had a weapon that could end civilization. And he didn't. Stalin gave his intelligence chiefs one order: get me that bomb. Not in 10 years. Now, so began the most dangerous intelligence operation in human history. One that didn't rely on soldiers or diplomats, but on ordinary Americans. People with jobs, with families, with children. People who believed in a cause bigger than themselves. Or so they thought. Somewhere in the New Mexico desert, behind barbed wire and armed guards, America's greatest scientific minds raced against time. This was the Manhattan Project, the most secret operation in the history of warfare. Every document classified, every person background checked. Twice, or so the government believed. Because inside this fortress of secrets, there was a crack. A 22-year-old Army machinist named David Greenglass. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't a general. But he had access. And someone in his own family wanted what was inside. To understand Julius Rosenberg, you have to understand where he came from. Poor, Lower East Side. Depression-era America. Where families went hungry and the gap between rich and desperate felt permanent. Julius was intelligent, idealistic, angry. Like thousands of young Americans in the 1930s, he found his answer in communism. Not as a weapon, but as a dream. A world without poverty, without exploitation, without war. In 1939, he married Ethel Greenglass, a union organizer, a singer, a woman who shared his values. 2 sons, a tiny apartment. Simple dreams, but ideology has a way of demanding more than you plan to give. Julius crossed a line. He began feeding information to Soviet intelligence. Small things first, then bigger, until he needed access to the Manhattan Project itself. And he knew exactly who to ask. His wife's brother. The man with the keys to America's most dangerous secret. 1950, the Korean War had just begun. America was already fighting one war, and now the FBI had a new target at home. David Greenglass was arrested. Facing the death penalty, he made a deal. Cooperate, give names. He pointed at his own brother-in-law. Julius Rosenberg was arrested on July 17, 1950, but the FBI wasn't satisfied. They needed the entire Soviet network, so they came up with a plan. Approved personally by J. Edgar Hoover. Arrest Julius's wife, not because they had strong evidence against her. An internal memo stated clearly there was insufficient evidence to indict Ethel Rosenberg, but because threatening a mother with the electric chair might break her husband, they called her, in writing, a lever. This is important, because this was happening inside a country that had lost its mind with fear. Senator Joseph McCarthy was naming hundreds of alleged communists. No evidence required, just an accusation. Careers were destroyed overnight. Even Charlie Chaplin was driven out of the country. This was the atmosphere the Rosenbergs would be tried in. A courtroom already poisoned before a single witness spoke. Declassified Soviet intercepts, the Venona Project, later confirmed Julius as a committed agent. Code name, Liberal. He recruited spies. He built a network. He was the real target. Ethel, the same intercepts showed her role was minimal. Aware, possibly complicit on the margins, not an operative, not a handler. The NSA's own chief analyst wrote, before the trial even began, that Ethel knew about her husband's work, but due to ill health, did not engage in the work herself. The government had this. They knew her role was marginal. They arrested her anyway. Ethel was taken on August 11, 1950. The lever never worked. Julius never confessed. And Ethel never came home. March 1951. Judge Irving Kaufman presided. A staunch anti-communist, later discovered to have been secretly consulting with prosecutors during the trial. Judicial misconduct that nobody stopped. The star witness, David Greenglass, Ethel's own brother. He told the court he'd personally seen Ethel sitting at a typewriter, transcribing his espionage notes for the Soviets. The prosecution called that typewriter a smoking gun in Ethel Rosenberg's hands. Guilty, both of them. On April 5, 1951, Judge Kaufman chose death for both. Then he said something that stunned the world. He blamed the Rosenbergs personally for every future death in a potential nuclear war, saying their crime had immeasurably increased the chances of atomic war and may have condemned tens of millions of innocent people to death. Two people in a New York courtroom blamed for potential nuclear Armageddon. McCarthyism at its absolute peak. Julius and Ethel had two sons, Michael, 10, and Robert, just 6. When their parents were arrested, the boys were bounced between relatives and a children's shelter for 3 years. Not knowing, only waiting. Robert would later say that growing up as the Rosenberg son during the McCarthy era was like being the child of Osama bin Laden after 9/11. But the world hadn't forgotten. Thousands protested in Paris, London, Rome, outside the White House itself. Einstein appealed for clemency. Picasso spoke out. The Pope personally wrote to Eisenhower. Every appeal rejected. The Supreme Court refused to even review the case 9 times, and 2 little boys kept waiting. June 18, 1953, Julius and Ethel were brought together one final time. An iron net between them, so they couldn't touch. For 30 minutes, they wrote a letter to their sons. It is true that the world has been harsh and unjust to us, but life is still worth living. Always remember that your parents were innocent, that their conscience was clear. Your loving mother and father. Goodbye one final time. They were asked to confess, to name their contacts, to give up the network, and live. Both said no. Julius went first. He died on the first shock. Then Ethel was brought in, into the same chair. The first shock came. She was still alive. A second, still alive. A third, a fourth, a fifth. The doctors stepped forward. Her heart was still beating. Faintly, the execution had to continue. The warden, a man who had overseen dozens of executions, later said it was the first time in his career that he cried. At 8:06 p.m., Ethel Rosenberg was finally gone. Outside Sing Sing, hundreds of supporters stood in complete silence. No chanting, no signs, just grief. For almost 50 years, the case seemed closed. Then, after the Cold War ended, America declassified the Venona intercepts, confirming Julius as a real Soviet agent. But those same intercepts told a different story about Ethel. Aware, perhaps complicit on the edges, never an operative. In 2001, David Greenglass appeared on CBS, disguised, living under a fake name in Queens, and confessed. He had never actually seen Ethel typing those notes. He only knew about it secondhand, from his wife. He'd fabricated the testimony against his own sister to keep his wife out of prison. Asked if he felt guilt for sending his sister to the electric chair with a lie, he paused. I don't care. I sleep well. Michael and Robert grew up, changed their last name, built families, and never stopped fighting. In 2015, they wrote in the New York Times, Our mother was prosecuted primarily for refusing to talk, not for spying, for silence. To this day, no American president has officially exonerated Ethel Rosenberg. Julius Rosenberg may have been a spy. History confirms he was. But Ethel Rosenberg was a woman who refused to speak. And the most powerful government on earth killed her for it. 5 times. The chair failed 4. The state's determination never did. Her brother slept well. Her sons never fully could. And here's the part that should stay with you. The tools that killed Ethel Rosenberg, fear, accusation, political pressure, manufactured evidence, never disappeared in 1953. They never do. Every generation gets its own version. A different name, a different enemy, the same machine. The only thing that ever changes it is people who refuse to forget. This was Panoptica Worldwise. If this story disturbed you, good. Share it. Because the moment we stop talking about what governments are capable of is the moment they're free to do it again.